Hello, welcome back to Crushing Sounds. My name is Chris, and today I'm joined by another one of the Southwest's rising stars, this time by the Savage Lacerta, hot off their release of the new EP, From the Gutter. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. How are we all doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
Yeah,
Solid man,
man.
pleasure.
Thanks for having us
Awesome.
on.
No worries. Would you like to all introduce yourselves and your roles within the band?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Matt. I'm the one of the guitar players. Originally formed this band back in 21 now,
Yeah, things good.
something like that.
I'm Char. I'm the lead vocalist.
I'm the bassist and backing vocals.
And the other guitar player. And way down the drummer, Callum, who couldn't be here today, but
Yeah,
Sadly.
little sword.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks again for joining me. So we're here today primarily to do a deep dive into your brand new EP. However, before we get to that, we of course want to lay the full context for people watching, so to speak. So, how did Lacerta come to be formed?
Yeah, it was a lockdown project, really, during the COVID period. A good excuse for a lot of people to start writing some music. And just happened to get in contact with this fella, and who was our previous vocalist prior to our current iteration, and it was Fiona. And basically, they tried putting some vocals down on some tracks, and it seemed to really kick off.
It started in a really weird way. So Matt originally contacted myself and our other original vocalist, Fiona. As it was meant to just be like a little studio project, but we all got together, played some music, and it just kind of worked. We decided to start taking it live, but we didn't have a full backing band. It was just Matt on guitar with a laptop playing everything else, and myself and Fiona on vocals, and it just kind of turned into something.
Practically karaoke.
Live karaoke, yeah.
Yeah, and then
Fiona left.
Fiona left this time last year. And then we decided, okay, that's a good opportunity for us to kind of rebrand. And
That's when he basically turned around to me and said, right, Charlie, just creative control, do something. Really weird.
You
basically,
recruited Liam at a wedding, if I remember correctly.
yeah,
I recruited that one at a wedding. And then John,
I blagged myself into the band by messaging Charlie when Fiona left,
Yeah.
asking if he wanted a new clean vocalist, and he said, I can do as a bass player. I was like, I can do that, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
very much. Yeah.
and
I shirked my way into the band.
Callum came with me. Me
Yeah.
and Callum were in a
You
band
brought him with
together
you?
before.
yeah. So
We both left a band together at the same time, sort of this time last year, and just so happened that this came up at the exact same time. Had a jam, I think from like sort of May, June last year, it was kind of quiet, but by August we had a full set and a show.
Yeah.
Which we didn't plan. We put on for November,
Yeah,
and
it
then
was
August
six-
it took off, and it's just took off from there.
It was
Really.
6 weeks from that original session with all of us in the room.
to playing a show,
And then we've not really stopped it.
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah, awesome stuff. It's been increasingly common that I ask bands when they started, and almost all of them at this point are saying 2020, 2021. It almost feels like lockdown was kind of like a nexus point, which is sort of Bristol Southwest metal sort of kind of reset, really. And I'm also hearing a lot more frequently metal bands coming from Plymouth. Has it always had a really big metal scene, or has it just been sort of hidden?
It was hidden for a long time.
It did
Sure.
kind of about
I was
10
in-
years ago.
I was in metal
exploded.
bands 10, 11 years ago, and they were very similar genres like post-hardcore and grindcore, but all those kind of bands just faded out and no one was really left. And then you look at the last maybe 4 years, maybe just before, last 4 years
Yeah,
it's been picking up again.
it's definitely been a boom. Like
Yeah.
you say, likely because of COVID, everyone's stuck indoors. They can
Everyone just
focus on that.
Everyone was just pissed off and frustrated, I can
Angry
imagine.
music.
But the other thing as well is the Metal to the Masses. I think the Bloodstock initiative, especially down here. I mean, we're in it this year. We're finalists this year. But like Mike said, that does the announcements, that he's never really seen it quite like it is now. And I think there's a lot of bands of local areas, like like the War Shepherd guys that are not necessarily Plymouth based. You've got like Jared Fear's lot. You've got Recreant. You've got Apathy. They're all based in the southwest, but nowhere near Plymouth. But they all seem to flood down here.
There is a
Everyone
brotherhood
in
going
Plymouth
Mm.
just seems to be supporting everything down here, but there doesn't
Yeah.
seem to be many bands that are necessarily from Plymouth that are like mates of it, but it's like all the surrounding areas, and it's starting to spread. To be honest, it's quite good to see, but
Yeah.
it's new to me.
Jonathan, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Cool, yeah, I'm definitely starting to see it become sort of another hub in the southwest, because at the moment you've got like Bristol, Bridgewater, and now Plymouth is starting to like come up really frequently. So that's really cool. Really cool to see another place where metalheads can gather, basically. So, quick elevator pitch time. How would you describe what Lacerta sound like to people who've not heard you before?
Right.
I said one thing. I said melodic, melodic groove laden filth.
Yeah,
the thing that came forward.
well, what you said earlier was pretty accurate.
Yeah.
It was like we kind of strive for like an almost polished sound, if that makes sense. It's like John said earlier, polished with mud.
Polished with mud, yeah. There's not a clean finish, but there's a finish.
Yeah, kind of like brushed chrome.
It is difficult because you've got 5 members that are all influenced by completely different music, and as common as that is in any big band or local band, I feel like when I've personally tried to think about it, there's not a band that I know about really that I go, oh, that sounds like us. I can't pin it down to one band that's very similar to us.
I think it's because of like I said, the mix of influences is very broad. But none of us aimed to sound like any one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're all fans of different genres, but I think
from kind of mine and Charlie's point of view, this is your first metal band since you were a kid.
Yeah.
And first time doing vocals in the band. It's my first metal band in 10 years, so I think it comes from a different space for us. Anyway.
No, sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And given all of this was essentially started off music that I wrote to begin with, I couldn't tell you what that was inspired by either. It was just sort of a mash of stuff, and that's only gotten the melting pot has only gotten bigger with the addition of these guys now. So it's interesting to see where it goes, but we're starting now to try and find the Lacerta sound as such, if there can be such a thing.
Yeah, if you were to pick straight up genres that are established though from the EP that we kind of fit into, we brand ourselves as new metalcore because there's a massive new metal influence, but there's obviously the more modern metalcore,
a lot of the
kind
modern
of
stuff,
gent-inspired progressive metal influence, but we're not
deathcore
like down that line. And then Charlie, it's like deathcore slam with the vocals. It's like Matt says, a melting pot, but those are your sort of, you know, pin
cornerstones.
Genres.
Looking at your cornerstones that it all derive from.
That might be the longest elevator pitch.
It's fine. It's elevator going from the Empire State down, so we're fine. So yeah, I think there's a phrase you used there, "polish with mud." If that's not an album title in the pipeline, I mean, just stumbled right into that one. So you mentioned that there were quite a lot of different influences coming from each member of the band. What were some of those early influences when you were coming up with this music?
I mean, going back to the old stuff, definitely more of a sort of modern progressive metal side of things. So for me, there's bands like Fallujah, Mechina, even Fear Factory was a big influence on a lot of stuff that I used to have a lot of synthy kind of stuff in the music that's sort of dropped out as time has gone on. Along to more melodic stuff like Soilwork, In Flames, that kind of vibe. And then
for myself, like vocally influence wise, it's always been, I mean, my kind of bands that I generally listen to is stuff like King 810, a lot of Infinite Annihilator, Lorna Shore, a lot of like heavier, more aggressive sounding stuff. So I kind of just wanted to, how do I describe? Like in the long run, sort of like kind of just get that aggression side of it in there, get that desperation into this sort of music.
You got Liam, who's just a massive new metal kid. He's born 20 years too.
Yeah, I was born right as new metal hit, and I should have been born about 15 years earlier, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it's new metal, some industrial metal, like Fear Factory, kind of genty stuff, but I never leaned towards that. And you know, slam music as well, which is the odd one. It goes from new metal to just slam. There's no in between. So just the kind of just straight up breakdowns, and then for you, John.
I'm prog metal and mellow death and stuff. You can see when I've got an obituary shirt on, but bands like Opus and even other bands, we kind of fall into that kind of sort of newer. I think bands like Scar Symmetry and stuff like that, which kind of like bridges the gap between kind of traditional like death metal, mellow death, and kind of symphonic stuff.
Yeah,
it's a lot of prog based stuff for me. Yeah, massive Opus fan, stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah, Opeth my favorite band, so always down for that. So you have an EP out already, the self-titled one. Have your influences and songwriting has it developed much between that EP and this one?
Yeah, definitely.
Surprisingly,
absolutely. Yeah, I'd say it's much like, you know, when you listen back to the first album from your favorite band, it's got that raw edge. And even though this isn't technically our first EP, having produced enough songs for 2 EPs worth before Fiona left and this whole iteration started, it's really interesting how when we think of the EP that's out, how each song is so very different, with Yellow Brick Road being the much more slam influenced, Smother having the big Deftonesy ballad energy, that kind of thing. And then with the current stuff, it's, I'd say, more groove laden overall, leaned much more into that, I think. But trying to incorporate everybody else's input, because that being a primary songwriter, I sort of had to let a lot of that go, which is something I'm still working on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been really interesting that we've got new music that's influenced by even more modern stuff. Me and Charlie went to Arctangent Festival last year. I came back having really only loved one particular band called Hippo Tractor. I fell in love with that album so hard and ended up writing a whole song that just sounded like them. So it's gone down that route. Well, that's the thing. I can't complain. It was awesome. But yeah, and as time has gone on, these guys have had more and more input, and that's changed things.
I think it's interesting looking back there, because YBR, Yellow Brick Road was the first song we wrote, and that was almost nearly
it was the first song we wrote. Yeah,
it was like the 13th of June. So yeah, almost exactly a year ago. To think how different things are now compared to that early stage of just getting a load of lads in the room and just see what comes out.
But even
I think it's a lot more structured these days.
That song is easily the most simple thing we do. It almost feels like a calling card that we're not going to be able to let go, because people really, really latch onto it. But it was the first thing we came up with. It was very much more kind of new metal slam inspired. But at the same session, we started what would eventually become Evaluate, which is a less popular song for us. But the actual original demo, which I think is titled "Don't Do It," I think, because it's a joke. It was a joke. But if we were listening to the demo the other day, and there's only really one riff in it that ended up being an Evaluate, and that the change in that song, the development that got compared to Yellow Brick Road, is insane. Sometimes you just write a song together, it sticks. Sometimes you write something, you pull it apart 3 times, piece it together, and it becomes a Frankenstein later on.
Yeah,
you've had time for it to sit in. It's just interesting to see the difference, really.
Yeah, awesome stuff. And so how early on in the life of this band did you decide on the look?
As in the masks, or
the masks, the costumes, all that.
Months, maybe.
Well, I've always wanted to do the masks as sort of like a thing, because I get quite shy on stage, and I'm very paranoid about the faces I make. So the mask was always something I'd wanted to do. But I think it was when Fiona left and we decided to completely rebrand. It was just the perfect opportunity to do it. When I pitched the idea, and you guys just seem to like it.
And if you're doing it in a full band, this is not to talk ill of any other group, but to do it in a full band setting,
you have to commit
to go full on. The fact we were all willing, like if it was just 2 of you doing it, you'd need to do it like properly right. For example,
I think the whole mask is really interesting, because it takes something away in the fact that you're not really yourself, and there are with wearing a mask, there are restrictions to the things you can do and the things you can see, obviously.
Especially in this heat.
Yes,
Jesus
exactly.
Christ.
It does affect those things, but it gives you something else, because it does give you something to lean into on stage. You don't really have to worry about yourself coming across as absurd, because it is absurd. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a show. It's supposed to be different.
It's part and parcel.
Horror show. That's the whole thing.
It fits the lyrics that Charlie's decided to go down the route of more horror based with his lyrics. It's very, very disturbing stuff when you read it. I mean, us guys, Charlie comes to us all excited, showing us our lyrics, and we're like, Charlie, that's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. But you put it into a song, and then you get the looks of us and things like that. I know a few of us are heavily self-conscious on stage, but I think what you've said to me before, Matt, about playing a character.
Yeah, you forget you're there.
Stupid, but if you don't act yourself, you can basically let go of anything you've got.
It takes
get on there,
and
you can just let yourself go. And that is a big thing for, I think, everyone really in this band. We let ourselves go. Completely different people, and something you said before, Charlie, about coming across as intimidating and fitting an image with the music, and then being able to take that off and go, oh, there's actually nice people underneath that, and you're separate. You can separate that. It's something that I think helps us all.
Yeah,
it is playing character. It is it's like a metal theatre show. I mean, if we had the budget to do all these crazy things, maybe we would, Zombie and Alice Cooper and stuff. But it is something about falling into a character and just really living that.
Yeah.
Like living in the music in that horror space.
Yeah. It did take a little while to acclimatize. Because it's a lot of the early masks we were wearing was sort of a bit
very rudimentary.
Yeah, rudimentary and uncomfortable. And as time has gone on, but yeah, like you do.
I still have my original mask.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was
Still
still
using
I know.
That's what using ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they didn't see the start, but
it's kind of it took a while, I think, to sort of get over the
silliness of it.
Yeah, in a way, that's the whole point.
Yeah,
you have to embrace it.
It's not about coming across as serious or not, because we're all idiots, but it's one of those nice things about it. It's just like you put the character on and you have a laugh on stage with it. It does take away some of the stress of just being able to feel that you can be a character and weird on stage.
Yeah, that all makes perfect sense to me, because my band used to wear masks. We don't anymore, but the whole being quite shy with what to do with my face, that was a massive thing for me. So yeah, we had a lot of fun with that kind of thing as well. I'm also curious, this is just coming to my head now, but when we used to wear masks, I'm wondering, because do you ever get when you're like talking to someone who doesn't really know anything about rock or heavy metal and they're trying to seem interested, and you say, we wear masks, do they ever go, oh, you're like Slipknot then?
Oh my God.
Single person.
It's
like, oh, you're like Slipknot or Kiss. That's it. There's the two.
Annoyingly, we never get Mushroom Head.
Yeah, I was going to say, who always puts Mushroom Head once?
And for the people saying that sonically we sound a bit more like Mushroom Head, but we've never had that thing. But again, Slipknot are so massive. They're just such a monolithian band now. Anybody who wears a mask like that band.
Well, I get a lot of
happens.
When I describe it to people, a lot of people go like, "Oh, Sleep Token." I'm like, "Oh, no."
That's a new one. I've not heard that.
Yeah, because they're quite theatrical.
Yeah,
in that sense, but musically, we're quite a far cry away from them.
Yeah, but even bands like what was it, Chugaboom, who play down here, they have a very consistent mask system. It's almost like custom, like what do you call it? Morphs, morph suit things,
underneath, isn't it?
Yeah,
like a half theatre mask on top.
It becomes part of the image, but you wouldn't think that they need it really.
No.
It's their music doesn't sort of encourage it as such, but like you say, the Slipknot comparison is obvious because it's the exact same thing for those guys. I think they put those masks on and they become completely different people.
And with them, they were in the original incarnation were about being as heavy as they could within the realms of that genre without going full death metal. It was, how can we be as heavy as possible with our own sound?
Sure.
And we've kind of basically done the exact same thing.
But thankfully, we're not at the stage where you're literally not even showing your identity.
No, I don't think I'd ever want to do that, because it's about going on stage and having a character.
It is, yeah. And also throwing up in the mask can't be fun.
No.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, fair enough. Cool, so let's dive into From the Gutter. So I think you might have alluded to this already, but with all these songs, did you write them knowing they were going to be part of one EP, or were they a collection of songs, some new stuff, some old stuff?
It was pretty much a set, wasn't it, for the most part?
It was all fresh material from what I remember, because it's sort of, definitely trying to move on from the old sound. I think we thought there was the original idea of doing like a full 10-track album, but I almost feel like it's a bit old-fashioned now. Like the idea of actually purchasing a full album worth of tracks it's quite outdated in a way. Whereas a lot of the bands that we played with, they would drip feed their tracks. Was it Delore?
Delore released the whole album's work, didn't they?
Yeah, they released.
As well. They've been doing
so they just release one song at a time, basically when they're done, and then you just clump them as an EP at the end. And that, by the time we got to that stage, that was kind of a good point where it's like, okay, there's 6 songs, that's a good EP, that's half an hour's worth of music, just about. And we're thinking of doing the same again. It's going to be another extended EP, but then again, there's so much fucking material. It's probably going to be a whole album by the end.
The plan we put together last time for this one was we put an extra song on it, because when we wrote the original set, we actually wrote 7 songs. So Disciple, which is a staple of our set, has been played since the original incarnation, but the only reason it didn't end up on the first EP is because it was in G, whereas everything else was originally it was such a different tuning, so we kept it back. But that's almost essentially like what you, Charlie, have based basically all the new songs.
It's kind of the bedrock of kind of sonically where it's going. It was the first song that had that kind of sound to it.
So with the first EP, that was the good point where we thought, okay, that's enough material to work with. Let's get that down. And it was very, like you said, it was very hard not to just add more songs on because we'd started writing stuff past that point. So, yeah, it was just a good way to test the water really and see how it went.
I think we sat with them for a long time as well. We had a good amount of time to hear them and gig with them before we actually.
Well, so we
recorded them. Really.
we basically written and gigged them within about 6 weeks.
It was 6 weeks pretty much to the day.
But then it took until April this year to actually get them recorded and released.
Yeah.
So that part of 8 months.
Yeah, we had a long time to sit with them to make sure they felt right.
Yeah, exactly.
And by that point, we have had there's 3 or 4. There's 3 tracks in particular: Disciple, Demon, and This Body, which are all planned for the next EP.
It's like phase 2.
They've been written for most of the year. They've been in the whole of 2023 sets. It's very rare they don't get played. They're going to be played all year essentially, and we've got a few extra tracks which are just reworking at the minute to do. A plan is another EP, really, isn't it? And then maybe look at doing a longer release next year, drip feeding more tracks, because we are starting to write more now, and it's like, actually, hang on, we're kind of overtaking ourselves.
Yeah, that's it.
We've got
way
a few
too
to get
much
out
to
first, and this has literally just come out. I think we're just a bit excited, really, aren't we?
Yeah, still riding that high as such.
Yeah, great. Did you record them all in like one big recording batch, basically?
No, not really. It was basically a full homebrew thing. So our drummer has an electronic kit, so he was just sending us MIDI tracks when they were done. Me and Liam would sit down to do guitars. John would just chuck us bass tracks.
I recorded all the bass, but then we recorded everything because I bought entirely new rig.
The vocals were a bit more haphazard, but I think we found a decent plan.
Well, we tried home recording the vocals, but we just
couldn't quite capture
couldn't quite catch that sound right in like a home environment. So we ended up finding a local studio with a producer. I just paid for a couple of hours and smashed them all out.
I went down to help you out, didn't I?
You did, yeah.
And it literally took Charlie less than 3 hours to track the whole thing. He went in there.
5 tracks, really,
and he went song after song. The only one that we didn't do down there was Dharma, because
that one had actually
piano vocals, and for whatever reason, Charlie had managed to smash it out. He didn't even feel well that day.
Well, funnily enough,
smash that.
Yeah, when I recorded the vocals for Dharma, I had a cold, and I recorded it mid asthma attack, so I couldn't breathe at all. So I was just just forcing it out as much as I could. No, we did that one at PMC.
Yeah, we did that. That was
in the same studio, just in a rehearsal room.
In a rehearsal room,
the actual vocal booth upstairs. So.
Yeah, that's a fun story for that one. Yeah, I was very uncomfortable recording that one. It ended up sounding kind of all right. So
fair enough. So we've mentioned Dharma, so let's dive straight into the tracks on this thing. So we open, of course, with Dharma. I'm sure I don't need to ask with a name like that. I'm going to anyway. What's that about?
Well, the idea behind that one I kind of went into because I've just sort of finished watching the Netflix show about it, and I kind of got really interested and fascinated into the mindset of somebody that could do something like that. So the song is, well, quite literally about Dharma speaking to his victim while killing them and trying to justify what he's doing, but also in his own mind, he's sort of talking to himself, but using that victim as just an outlet.
It's like an inner monologue, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like an inner monologue being outwardly spoken about to the victim.
As a tidbit on that one, though, I do believe that song was usually originally called Just Another Wednesday.
Oh yes, it was. Yeah, that's a fun little
an average Wednesday, something like
Just Another Wednesday.
Plays hold for a couple of months.
But with the first verse, when he the first line comes in with the I can't believe there's blood on my face. I always knew I'd love this flavor. It's almost like Dharma's shocked about what he's doing, but he's also shocked about the fact that he's enjoying it.
How did the laughing come about? Was that just
that was Keith? That was Keith, a photographer,
a
local photographer from the Plymouth scene. He decided to come along to one of our rehearsals and take some photos for our
social media. The rehearsal that we played right before we played our first show, 5th of August last year. He was at that rehearsal filming us. That was
it. Yeah,
we jammed Dharma for him and showed him the new songs, and he suggested it at literally the day we were about to come back and rebrand as a new band. It was quite important day, really.
Yeah.
But with the chorus to that one, it's the lyrics go like, "Don't cry now, it's only just begun. Your sacrifice is burned with a purpose."
Your sacrifice is burdened with a purpose. Go dry your tears. No need for fear. Your belief me a thing I promise you.
Don't dry your tears, no need for fear. You'll barely feel a thing, I promise. It's like a very intimate thing between, like, you know, the killer and the victim.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Did did having an asthma did that add to it, or was that thoroughly unpleasant?
It made it.
You hated recording it.
I think when I listen to it, it does add something. It adds almost like desperation to it because he was having an asthma attack. This kind of was kind of the desperation, just kind of get it done.
Yeah, kind of. I just wanted to get it recorded and get it out there. But
because I produced that EP, so when I went back and listened to the audio that we had, which we thought was really rough, like the session hadn't really gone well, the tech wasn't working, but we managed to get a rough take, enough for a full take, and I thought, okay, I'll just work with this. And the kind of processing I like to do on Charlie is to add some distortion to his voice, because it just has that raspiness that cuts through and mixes really well with the overall vibe we were going for. And I sent the guys the demo, and Charlie was like, "Wait, was that the same take?" You know?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Again, you put it into context of an actually produced.
Yeah, it worked really well.
And so studio magic, like your the laughing effects having a bit of delay on it, and
like kind of weird stuff.
When we sat there listening to it, we're like, right, Charlie doesn't need to re-record this. We're done.
Yeah, leave it.
Yeah, that was an interesting day, I must admit.
It was a complete fluke.
Fair enough. What made you pick that one to be the first track of the EP that listeners are hit with immediately?
It's been a great live opener. To like lights all down, like we've done things like having Charlie in a body bag and we'll drag him out and he'll have the microphone in there and he'll just start the laughing as he comes out of the bag.
And I think again, from having sat with these songs for so long before, I think we decided the order pretty late on, but we had so long to sit with them to see what it felt with.
The order went on the track listing so many times. So the gig was quite a random order, and it kind of became the order of the EP.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it just seemed to flow. It was a cool way to introduce things with the more muted opening and then it building up to something much more aggressive.
Well, of all the tracks in the EP, it screams opener. I mean, the only other one that starts calm and smother, but as it being a ballad, typically you'd put it later or the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was kind of begging to be at the start, and it's a good introduction. If someone's going to be put off by something or they're not going to vibe with something, they kind of need to see the vibe of the band straight away, and that song doesn't hide anything. It's like there's both of us doing lead, there's a lot of different influence in there. It kind of is a very good benchmark to be like, this is what you're about to spend half an hour listening to. If you don't like it, don't like now.
Well, I mean, you could say that it's basic. That song is us walking up to the table and just whipping it out and throwing it out. It's just like, this is us, take it or leave it kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's the logic behind it.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so the next track, Mutual Violence. I really, really liked the recurring riffing in this one. That lead line that then gets harmonized and brought back even like lower and heavier in the chorus. Really, really fucking cool. Was that riff the initial spark for this song, or did it come from elsewhere?
So that one is almost exclusively me. It was what was it? I remember specifically in the chat. Charlie had and Liam, because they're into the slam stuff, we were chatting influences and that kind of stuff. And Charlie does this thing now every now and again where he'll just send a message. It just says, write a song, basically. And I remember you saying, write a slam song. And I wasn't even part of this conversation. I thought, all right. So I literally smashed out what ended up being the complete structure of that track pretty much in one night and sent it to you guys. And then as soon as Liam added the more creepy leads that come over the chorus.
No, I added the verse.
Sorry, in the verse.
Charlie
yeah.
actually wrote the guitar in the lead, which is my favorite thing to play live,
chorus,
and
yeah.
I didn't even write it. So the chorus lead line, we were playing around with certain phrases, and Charlie picked up my guitar, and it was the first thing he came up with. I'm like, right, okay. So yeah, but it was the lead lines added to the verses. And then eventually with that song, the only change that happened is actually midway through recording, John just decides out of nowhere to come in and change the entire second verse bass riff. Came up with this hell of a
the funky thing, yeah.
And we were just like, right, should we do this with more songs now?
I recorded the bass line and added a little bit more to it, but yeah, I like this for that bridge section of Mutual Violence. I think it sounds cool. Here we go.
Because it's just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, mainly it's Matt, and I think Charlie wrote lyrics that almost instantaneously at rehearsal while we were trying to get the shot.
Yeah, I did. I kind of just sat. I heard the song and just
Took it in for a
wrote
bit,
something.
like a
and
sponge,
kind
a
of
useful
worked.
lyrical sponge.
Yeah, it just worked. It was kind of a weird little fluke.
That was definitely nothing for you, freeform. But we had, because Matt just went, I got a song. It was like, you didn't have to kind of wait for the parts to be written. It's just kind of like,
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, and everything else got added
Well,
in while
basically,
you were working on
also,
it.
you just went away and recorded it, and you just did lyrics like that, and then the guitar.
Pretty much.
Same as that bass. I was like, I can do something better than that bass section, and that was like, that just went in one, and then recorded it.
Yeah.
And sent it over.
We work very unconventionally. It's
It's capturing spark.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
anything, it's quite an old-fashioned way to do it
Yeah.
instead of refining things down over a longer period. But
It's essentially dopamine mining
yeah, pretty much.
musically.
But yeah, like you say, very quick song, that one. Like it came together really fast, that one, and we love playing that one. It's one of
That's
our
my favorite
favorites,
song to play live.
Yeah.
Easy.
especially now because I'm doing car bomb-esque ring modulation during some of the heavier parts. It just makes it even more disgusting.
Actually, the last game we just played in Western Supermare, so we've never played there before, and it was completely new to us. But at the end of the song, I don't know if any of you caught it, but right at the end of the song, I went up 2 octaves on the whammy. So right at the end, so I thought, because you were doing that, I would have made this even more disgusting. I went up 2 octaves,
Nice.
and it's
I generally thought that was my idiot.
no, I just thought I'd try that.
I didn't actually get to that one, mate. I must admit.
They're all deaf up those gigs, but yeah.
Yeah, that's always cool when like it just sort of it comes in out of nowhere and you could just run with it. It's almost like why can't every song be that bloody easy to write? It just makes things so much easier.
That's the thing. That's kind of a staple for us because I do tend to just chuck demos at these guys and they tend to just go with them. And if anything, I'm trying to get them to push back on me to get something a bit more organic going. But yeah. Oh, God.
Keep writing really good shit.
The lyrics are just
Is
weird.
it even lyrically that you drew inspiration off, Charlie? Because I feel like that's a big part of it, but that's something that we can comment on. We can talk about the music all day, but lyrics is your forte.
That's my ballpark. Yeah. Well, the lyrics in that one are really strange because it's I don't know if you know the story about the cannibal who sought after someone to eat through like social media.
Is that Armin Muez? Is that his name?
That's the guy. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't know. Actually, thank you for that. But
I just feel a lot skinned. They do all the kind of that kind of thing. So
someone told me about that story, and I was like, "Oh, that's metal as fuck."
So there's a lot of
Just
songs
went with
about
it.
that. There's a lot of songs like Mind Tile by Ramstein about the exact same thing.
Oh my god,
Eaten by Bloodbath. Yep.
There's so many songs about that story. It's very
It's
influential.
a
I was like,
story.
yeah, I just went with it, and like the lyrics. For some reason, I have real trouble keeping these lyrics in my head. They just don't want to stay there. So I have to keep reminding myself of them. But yeah,
You need an auto prompt thing
So
like
it's
on the TV.
The amount of trauma and filth in these songs is like your brain's fighting back.
yeah. I just like the opening where it just sort of like it just hits you like a punch in the face. It comes from that riff, then I go in with the like sort of guttural / pig squeal, depending on how I feel that day. But it just comes in, and that chorus with the like true friends, my obsession, come forth, make all our dreams come true. It's that sort of touching on the fact that they both wanted that to happen. And it's sort of like we both need each other, come forward, make all our dreams come true.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a very deep taboo fantasy thing.
Sort of the ultimate the ultimate fantasy, I suppose, but like in the deranged world.
Yeah. Which is like
It's like the ultimate skin sin.
yeah.
There's another song name.
Yeah.
That's like last page on Pornhub kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Back pages of the archive.
Yeah, the archive. Ooh.
Oh dear. Yeah.
You get through half the report message.
Yeah.
Yeah, killers and murderers seem to be a very recurring theme going on here. But you know,
Well, we've got a couple new songs where I kind of touch on that, like The Flesh, the new one, which you'll probably hear at some point in the next couple of months. We're planning on getting that recorded.
That will be on the next EP.
That'll be on the next
absolutely.
EP, which is I would say
Evil.
personally, I would say that's my favorite song I've written so far, because it's just vicious, man.
It is visceral and vicious.
The song itself is called The Flesh, and it's written about a book called The 120 Days of Sodom.
mm-hmm. Yep.
And so yeah, I just kind of go into progressively worse, violent and messed up fetishes.
Yeah.
It's just very strange stuff.
There are some syllables in that song.
Oh yeah. There's some words in that one. I won't spoil it.
Yeah, no worries. I was going to hear it. Cool. So, Smother threw me for a loop when it first came on. Thought we were getting a full-on ballad. It's almost a ballad, but it's not just the clean intro, but the very strong power chords that go through the song. Still heavy, still kicks ass, and we also get a first taste of some clean vocals as well. What was it about this song that you felt needed different kinds of vocals on it?
I think that came from a conversation we had.
Well,
originally, yeah.
for me, like the addition of the clean vocals, it goes well with the theme of the song. It's like the song is literally about an existential crisis. Like with the sort of like fast-paced, sort of almost rap vocals at the beginning. You know, the overall theme of that is like something bad has happened in this person's life, like they've gone through trauma. Then it's sort of for me, the clean vocals is a moment of clarity in the song, where that the listener
So it's kind of that juxtaposition between all that craziness and all that horror.
There was always the intention, I think, to bring some cleans in somewhere, and I think it was a good excuse. Let's say Liam in particular, it mainly influenced that track just down to the more sort of Deftonesy feel, you know, that big ballad feel.
What I brought to you originally. That song was very odd. It came about very quick.
We wrote that in the room.
I quite literally showed you the intro, the clean intro, and went, I've got an idea. It's a pattern I always go to when I'm writing stuff. And I was like, it's not Lacerta though. That's how my mentality was at the time, because it was a later thing in the EP. Sent it to you. We were like, okay, we'll try it in the room. We tried it full distortion. And then I think I tried the verse riff. We were just trying some kind of new metal inspired things.
and then
The whole thing just kind of flew
it just came
together. And I think with the breakdown, that was the thing that took a little while to bed in, because that was more of you. But then we've got the call and response between the left and the right here is Matt's generally in the left, I'm generally in the right when it comes to the bits that are panned. And we do it a lot now, where it's like we've got a breakdown with like 4 bars, and it's like 1 and 3 is yours, 2 and 4 is mine, but like random shit at
random
the
bits,
And that was probably the longest thing that kind of came about it, but it's definitely something that kind of
The
more my influence kind of in that song.
I think that song is an interesting little like snapshot of the various sounds that we all have. you could argue it's almost a bit disjointed at times because it sort of goes from ballad to really, really heavy and then back and forth. It's flowed more as we've played it more and more, but it's an interesting sort of example of the various stuff that we're just trying to smash together and just seeing what works.
Just throwing stuff on the wall.
The thing is, we've now got, I say, we've got plans to do another ballad style track. Probably not quite so poppy and melodic necessarily.
It's disgusting.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Other than the choruses, that song, and like
Which one do you mean?
Yeah.
5/8, which I've given a name. I've written lyrics to today, which literally is all happened today.
That's,
I need to know you have the final
I've heard
product.
the song, but not the lyrics.
But
anyway,
that's another.
We've not
like
heard the
you
lyrics.
said,
We've read the lyrics.
We've lent towards another ballad, but it's only the chorus. It's very much the verses are going to hit you in the face.
But the thing is, it's been at one point it was the highest played track on the Spotify playlist out of the UK.
Yeah, for
And so it was like, what does that mean necessarily for the people who are listening to it? It was an interesting little take, and then Mike from Livewire and Saltash played it as the first song of ours he's ever played on his metal show.
Yeah, he played Dharma 2 nights ago, but Smother was his choice, and we didn't even know we were going to be playing. We knew we were going to be playing before. What's he going to pick? We're all starting going Yellow Brick Road. No, it comes out with that. I'm thinking, hang on a minute, is this now the most popular song?
Again, Dharma goes up there.
But it was,
violence,
but it was also
kind of views.
It was a similar thing to the old material where Charlie had started working on using cleans more, because originally it was like Fiona was the cleans, Charlie was the harsh, and so you were trying to do more like stuff with harmonies and blending stuff together, and we've only tried to encourage that as time has gone on, and now John's doing more clean stuff as well, so it's just moving on from there really. But it's an interesting track, that one, especially compared to the others.
Have you played that song live much?
Yeah.
Does it come down well live?
I think so. It's a nice break in longer sets.
The only reason it doesn't get played, just a bit of nerd talk, because our set has 3 different tunings. Me and Matt use the same guitar, and John uses the same bass for our drop C and our drop G stuff, because John uses the hybrid tuning. Me and Matt have got
Helix pitch shifters,
and I've got a Digitech whammy on top, so we can pitch shift. But Matt's got a baritone Chapman, and I've got a 7-string PRS in a weird tuning, and we use those guitars solely for A sharp. So there's the Look, Smother,
Evaluate
on the EP, which are all in A sharp. And we've got a few new tracks that we're playing now, but Smother does tend to get played if we've got that in a set. But because we do a lot of half-hour sets, we generally stick to drop C and drop G sharp G stuff, because we don't have to lug more instruments. But if we've got the space, we're doing a headliner like this Friday,
play everything.
Smother's being played.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, if we've got the means to do it, it's being played.
Yeah, good stuff. Cool. So tell me a little bit about how the Look came to be. To me, it almost feels like the heaviest song on the album, if that's possible.
It's Neutral Violence Part 2. It's another
it's another one where I came up with pretty much the whole thing,
and then John's added a slap bit and I did the leads, and and then Charlie's come in with vocals. That is quite literally it. It was literally, you sent it in, I think within a day of us practicing that developed.
I think so.
Really fast. Again, really fast.
I think I can actually pin down the influence to that song to Marrow from Meshuggah, which is just almost all slides. The whole riff is just those descending slides the whole time. So I thought I'll try and make a riff out of something similar. And then you throw in some sort of Gojira-esque triplet chugs after that, some weird leads. The chorus was an interesting one with that. We originally tried to experiment with this kind of like carnival vibe.
Oh yeah.
Which didn't really
it
was a long time ago. It didn't really go anywhere. But we just sort of worked out what came up to be an interesting progression, and Charlie had the perfect pretty line, which works really well at the end of the chorus there. And there's
it's a strange one, I must admit. That kind of came out of nowhere, that chorus.
It's all about what is that song really about?
It's about
plastic surgery.
It's about plastic surgery. I'll tell you what, that song was actually, believe it or not, inspired by Melanie Martinez track. There's a music video where she's basically being like forced to undergo various plastic surgeries by a abusive husband, and that really, like, you know, I've got a little sister. I've got, you know, I understand how like the pressures of society can be like on physical appearance.
Yeah.
And I don't know, something about that music video kind of stuck with me, and I really wanted to express my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, because it is very much, when you read the lyrics, it's not that your songs aren't obvious, but that one to me was fairly easy to pin down, that it's about not necessarily a self-conscious woman, but I could tell it was about a girl and like the pressures of of how to look like, and you know, it's kind of quite obvious when you've got lyrics written down, because obviously a lot of people go, I can't understand your stuff, but we sit with Charlie, he shows us the actual
we struggle sometimes,
notes, so we can read it all.
It takes a while to embed.
Yeah, I mean, that one, I think that line, which line was it? In the second one, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will leave a scar. You tear apart your very self and slice into your heart. That's sort of like you're giving away the essence of who you are to become this.
You lose something by
porcelain figure.
But yeah, it kind of falls into the whole kind of imagery and stuff and the mask and stuff. That whole kind of idea, like you take something away, but you gain something, but it goes both ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, exactly. Better or worse.
Yeah, that always goes down well. That one.
Yeah,
and with the recordings of that one, that was an interesting one, because you did a few takes, Charlie, and you weren't happy initially. But I said to you, I think I suggested you to try it in different ranges, to go high, mid, and low. And we quite literally gave Matt a mass
of stack of about 5 tracks. Yeah.
Matt just stacked them. We didn't even ask. We were like, oh, let's try 2 together. Let's try a high and a low. That was my idea initially. And Matt was like, nah, fuck it. I'm going to put them all on there. And it just, honestly, like in the headphone stuff, it just does something to
you. This like wall of
just wall of Charlie.
A wall of me.
But it goes down well live, and people really anticipate that part.
They just get a lot of
people say to me, like, I can't wait to hear that chorus live. It's like, well,
I keep hearing about
yeah.
I do keep hearing about that. Again, it comes to that groove thing. And that's becoming a cornerstone, I think, of the kind of sound we have going forward. That groove is a big element for that song. Yeah, for sure.
Love that one.
Yeah, great. I also have to ask, the effect that you do with the guitar, the really thin, distorted guitar, only to then boot off into full heavy. How much do you love doing that? Because we hear it quite a bit on this EP.
I call it.
It's your cliche, and your cliche is
it's my cliche. Yeah.
We would be sponsored by 2 companies. Matt would be Filter Pass, and I would be Digitech.
That sounds about right.
It's it.
I think. What do they call it? I call it the Nickelback button. It just adds that tension and release, and all it is an EQ filter on my Helix pedals.
We use the kind of radio sound kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a cliche, but if it works, it works.
That's the thing. It's in so much music these days. Even if it's not necessarily a full like radio sound, it might just be a sort of more muted feel. And like you say, it just adds that different tension and release. But you're right, there is a lot of it.
Well, I wasn't complaining. I just heard it quite a few times. Yeah.
Use it once.
Don't use it once. Yeah.
At the end of it, he's gone around and he's sweating. He's like,
no! Give me my Nickelback.
From a production standpoint, though, like when we play live, because you've got 2 guitars and it's mixed completely differently, you can afford not to use it, because one guitar playing and then you've got bass and another guitar coming in. It's going to be different. On a recording, when we're double tracking things either side of the thing, you kind of need it for, like Matt says, the tension and release. You need it for those lull moments, and we write kind of not with that in mind, but there's parts in songs. I mean, I've started to do it now with that ballad. I'm like, I've just like, right, there's a section right where it goes, come. Can I just, Matt, what's that effect called? Can we just do that? No, because it's just kind of embedded in our sound. It's like, we'll put that there. And
you're going to have to rename that on the Helix now.
Nickelback button, yeah.
Great, awesome. So Evaluate, for me, felt like it lent more back into the slightly creepier side that we hear at the beginning of the EP.
Never had a steady hand. It always got me where I needed to go, though. Destination of the grain of the sand. Satisfaction of the ocean you so owe. Creating minds of just something to say. Never had a word to say to you anyway. Never wanted any piece of all the action. You were the reason for your self-satisfaction. Never wanted to be anything like you. You always knew the pain you went through. Make sure you
So what was the inspiration behind that one?
Ooh,
Yeah, talk lyrically.
Yeah,
'Cause I love your lyrics on that.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
You brought
It
that
was-
track together.
it used to be done really cleanly, but
Yeah,
you weren't
rapped.
you weren't
actually
gelling.
rapped.
You
It
weren't
was full
really
new rap.
gelling with it, were you?
yeah, well, in the original setup for the band, I did quite a bit.
It was rapping. You were trying to do
I
it.
tried to go down sort of more of the original new metal, like sort of classic new metal sound. I tried incorporating a lot of hip hop elements, but I'm not a rapper. I'm just nothing about this screams rapper. So with Evaluate, the actual verses, I tried to sort of go very like sort of hip hop with them, but it just didn't work. I just didn't enjoy doing it. It wasn't.
You didn't even want to play the song live for a while, did you?
For a while, yeah, I
Mm.
really did not enjoy playing the song. I just
I
didn't
think-
want to.
I think it was Liam who suggested, why did you scream
Yeah,
the whole
recording,
thing?
yeah.
You
Yeah.
didn't scream the
Because
whole
in actual
thing.
fact, I'll be honest, Charlie, it disappointed me massively when we got in that recording room to do the EP, and we all thought we're having a value in that, and you didn't realise, and you were like, "I'm not doing it." So I was like, "Right, scream it,"
Almost.
and you
like-
went in there, and you came out and was like, "Actually,
It completely-
I like that."
Yeah.
It completely.
It transformed the song.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Transformed the
as
song.
soon as we started screaming those verses, well, it just giving it a bit of grit, really. And we added, I think we added some like chugs to the chorus, to the verses as well. Like
Yeah.
a little bit.
John's tone changed to be more distorted as well. It used to be very, very much like, I don't want to say flat, but there wasn't as
It's
much drive in
different,
it.
it's different.
There's a lot more drive, and I've started to change the lead line. I mean, it's recorded clean, but I've started to do it a little bit more distorted now, with just a little bit on there, just to push some of that dirt
Yeah.
in that line, because it kind
I'll
of
say
gets
that-
lost.
The verses are almost all you, Liam.
Yeah.
Because there's
It's that,
that.
new metal kind of
It
vibe,
is, yeah. It was the choruses compared to the verses are very big jumps, but they work because it's just a very different change of groove. It made it really interesting. And then as soon as we wrote that last breakdown, it was like, okay, this is actually quite cool.
Well, it's weird because when we did the original set, so like Smother, Evaluate, and The Look,
Yeah.
is that right? They were all in drop C originally, and obviously Smother and Evaluate
Yeah.
were more my kind of things. We transposed them down, but with Evaluate, that the original demo to it, when we fished it out, the only semblance of Evaluate you could tell is those opening notes where I'm just playing on my own. It's
The
those
chorus,
chords,
yeah.
the power chords, which I came up with, and then you wrote the rest of it, the bounce riff. So that was like me and you two blended.
Yeah,
And then there's verses, but that's the only thing that we started with. Like, it quite literally started with that chorus riff, and I was so persistent with getting that in a song. We just kept rewriting the song until we
pretty much.
found something that worked.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Oh mate, I loved that riff. I was like, it's getting in somewhere.
I love how excited you are, Liam. This
Yeah,
is great.
I fucking love that. I'm proud of
But
that.
I say Charlie really brought that together. It's
Yeah,
like
I
for
feel
me,
like it's clicked in.
every time I hear that chorus now, it's the rhythm of those words, and that's really the trick I think we're all trying to find is those little hooks that you stick in your head that people listen to. Because with a lot of modern metal these days, I think there's a lot less of that. It's more of an emphasis on who can come up with like the heaviest breakdowns or the fastest parts and this kind of stuff, and that's still great. But if you don't have that little link to make people think back to your song, something to remind them of it, I think that's important.
I think we
and that
were
song's a
more
great
like-
example of it.
More like a pop group than you would expect, because it's all about. And I know Charlie's got some heavy vocals, but you take songs like Smother with the clean vocals, but you take songs like The Look and Yellow Brick Road. I mean, people shout it at us. You'll be walking around a venue and people are shouting at you.
Alien Welsh
Because
is great.
it's not sang, but it's got this rhythm to it. Like Matt says, it's got this rhythm to it.
Yeah.
It's got this hook, and it just sticks with you. And for that's just like pop music. Just find the catchiest thing you can, and it sticks in your head. And that's part and parcel why me and you don't solo. I mean, we're going to look into that, but that's another thing that bands before would go. They write a really cool solo, and that's what's stuck in your head. And we kind of focus more with the vocals.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as everyone
that's
knows,
really
the guitar solo got killed off by the guest rapper, didn't
Well,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
And in 2003,
No, that's it.
Metallica.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The new metal influence is definitely very strong in that sense. But yeah, no, it's that was one of the ones that seemed like a struggle, but and we're glad it made it on in the end. I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, thinking back, I actually feel silly like not liking that song because it is a good one. It is a great song.
But the
It's the
thing
difference
is,
between-
it's valid criticisms you had with it. You didn't feel right doing it.
Yeah.
We'll try something different. Admittedly, it was at the last stage of
I'll say it took
the
6
song,
months.
but it took 6 months to
Yeah.
get it to where it is. But it's arguably the best iteration it's been. If it
Tiny
takes 6
little
months,
tweaks,
it takes
man.
6 months.
Yeah,
Tiny
man.
little tweaks. That's all it takes.
Makes a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah, great. That's really interesting to hear that it went through quite a very different form of what it ended up being. So that'll be really interesting to think about when I listen to the song again about what might have been. But yeah, that's a really cool bit of history there. So finally, Yellow Brick Road. We've talked about it a couple of times already. Love the little death grindy descending breakdown, complete with pig squeals. So, what's going on with this one?
Buoyant, if you will.
Yeah. Well, Gospel Slug. I mean,
I think the thing,
Liam SW.
yeah.
the interesting thing with that one is it is literally the first song we wrote as this version of Lacerta, and
I
it's
left halfway through that rehearsal.
it wasn't even there for half that time when we were writing that track. Charlie in particular took a lot of lead on that one, both sort of overall with the progressions and the lyrics. And
It's not to say that our songs aren't important, but this song has to me, it's much, I could drop it out of the set in favor of newer stuff because it feels more simple, but purely based on a lyrical standpoint, that song, if you don't mind me saying, is a recovery song. So therefore, it is quite important. It's those songs that stick with people because yes, we're quite, rash with lyrics and we are got the mask and we have that imagery, but there is a side to us.
If anything,
where it's like, well, actually, we do have,
serious songs,
feel about things. Like this song just shows that, people go through hard.
It's bizarre that it's one of the few songs that kind of deviates from the whole kind of imagery kind of thing, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, that song in its essence is quite a personal one to me because it's about my struggle with sort of homelessness, drugs and recovery. Like the entire term Yellow Brick Road is a metaphor, a very obvious metaphor for the road to recovery. But yeah, that one, I don't think I would ever really want to drop that. Well, obviously one day we'll have to drop it from the bloody set, but I think I'd
it's a staple. It's become a staple.
Back to that.
I don't think I'd ever want to fully stop playing that song because it is such a great song.
We could do a redux at one point.
An interesting trivia about that song. We struggled with an EP title for a very long time because Matt and Charlie had already done the self-titled thing before that self-titled EP, which obviously the rest of us weren't involved in, but it's nice to still have it out there because it shows the difference. But John's idea, I think, was either one of you two was a lyric from Yellow Brick Road is from the gutter.
We talked about the idea of doing it.
We pulled the EP title out of that song and we chose it as the first song to come out, lead single. There was talk to doing a video for it for a while, but we kind of set off. So it's an important song.
It's that last
and it's always the end of always the closer of a set typically, isn't it, as well? So
another example again of that, having that hook, like the amount of times that we'll play it and we'll see people screaming the Yellow Brick Road back at us.
Oh God, that's such a good feeling when that happens.
In Welsh.
In Welsh,
yeah.
Well, they were doing it in Welsh.
What? Wait, what?
When we played Wales last October.
Oh right.
Eric jumped back in
You're singing it back to us.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I did not even know that.
That explains why there was so much phlegm everywhere.
Yeah, they were a phlegmy couple of shows.
Yeah. No, that was Drop and Tam. So I think people came in, but they were singing in Welsh.
Nice. Oh, there you go.
Like one or two people. There's not a lot of people, but it's hilarious. What they do is we're singing in Welsh.
It's like I say, it's interesting because it's like the stepping stone. It's the first stepping stone we ever took.
Yeah.
But like I said, it just came together really damn quick.
It started the road, I suppose.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. As well, because you can't hear it very well unless you I hear it because I know about it, but I feel like it's really easy to miss. But the end of Evaluate's got a almost Yellow Brick Road almost feels hidden because there's the long silence at the end of Evaluate and the start of Yellow Brick Road right before you have that Nickelback button of Matt coming in with that riff.
The sound of rain.
You have the sound of rain when we went away for your birthday.
Yeah,
us three went away and we went to a lodge trip and it was just time away and it comes back at the end.
And the cover's from that as well.
Yeah, and the cover is from that trip away. The cover for the EP.
That's a weird story.
Wow.
we went away for a weekend to this weird sort of like cabin.
Yeah, it was an Airbnb cabin on a farm.
But there was a woods, sort of wooded area really close to it. We went for a little walk as a big group, and we discovered that in this little wooded area along the path, someone had taken, must have been a good couple hundred.
It wasn't. It was several dozen, but there
was several dozen stuffed animals, and hung them from the trees and like hidden them in bushes and like and they'd like gone all mossy and like decrepit. It was very
There was one
weird.
hanging from. It looked like it was hanging from a noose, but it was one hanging from a raglan. And honest to God, it was an eerie place to be.
Yeah,
and I took so many photos in that.
Yeah, I know. We were like,
came back and we were like, let's just sort the fuck out of these images, and we just went through so much stuff with it. But that song was just like a cornerstone of us, but that song went through so many things. Like had in the rain from when we were just chilling. It just got all of that love injected into it from the
I thought originally I was going to do it for the rest of the tracks. If you hear carefully in certain parts, you can hear the sound of the Tesco checkouts.
Oh, that's great.
And also Charlie playing Bop It on the sofa in this cabin, and you can just hear it underneath the. It's those little breaks, isn't it? There's little breaks, and it's just
I only heard it the day I re-recorded the
Yeah.
Message back, like, can I hear his partner in the background, like
you can hear Jess talking at one point.
The last thing is, which was the first thing you put in,
the rain.
Matt sent the very original demo across the Yellow Brick Road with Charlie's vocals, and I sent him a voice message back, just being an idiot.
Oh yeah,
and I made this really stupid noise going like that, and so he took that voice message and stuck it right in. It's right down, and right before you join the breakdown and Charlie does his pig squeal, you can just hear it in there. He's to put this effect on my voice and be going like that, just as the drum hit comes in. So that song just basically becomes a sampler's nightmare. It's just everything.
It's a very all the things behind that song is so silly, but the song itself is so serious.
But the thing is, no one notices it.
It really does kind of.
The thing is, originally I was going to do that for every track because it's sort of
culminates who we are as a band. I think that song,
absolutely,
including the recording, the whole process of that, and the fact it's the first song.
No, absolutely. Let's say it's still a hell of a good fun to play.
Yeah, you put it through everything, but the other songs, nothing you can find really whack with it, is it? But Yellow Brick Road just adds that feeling that you could just chuck Tesco checkouts and me being an idiot, Charlie playing Bop It on the sofa and the rain away. That you could chuck all that stuff in, and it's weird. It's weird to hear.
I think that was definitely more inspired by bands like Immure, actually, because they have that thing where it's almost this continuous level of ambience throughout their tracks almost at all times. And that was the intention, was to have this sort of layer going across everything. So I was just recording bits of everything that we were doing. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure why I stopped. I think it was because I realized it was going to be a crap load more mixing if I did it for every other track. But it works, and it gave it this energy. And then alongside what the album cover of it, which I can't remember which particular.
It's the two rabbits next.
That was it. Yeah, there was one particular it was Thumper from Bambi, just on a mound. It was like it was a gravestone somewhere. It was weird.
They got a teddy bear on the front.
Yeah. There you go. That's the history of that EP.
Right. I used to work at Tesco for 2 years, so I will look out for that next time. I hear that noise in my sleep. So
hear the checkout beeping.
Oh god, there's nothing in the fucking bagging area. Anyway.
In my life,
yeah.
Bagging area.
Yeah.
We joke about it a lot, though. We have. I mean, because of those things, we've joked about with breakdowns, like people do all the time. They put stupid samples before they.
Yeah.
And you've made a song out of it recently. Like, there was like a riff that you made out of it recently of like different voice messages, and it's just something we do for fun. But in that song, it just kind of stuck, and it's it is what it is.
I
couldn't imagine it not being there.
The background lean.
But yeah, that's where we're at the minute. I mean, up to that.
Yeah.
Great. So of course, From the Gutter has now been out for a little while now. So how has the reception been for it so far?
Pretty damn great.
I think it's one of those things where it's got us a lot more gigs and stuff. Like from a stream standpoint, it's been relatively strong. If we're a smaller band, we've had a decent amount of reach from it in terms of from a global spectrum. We had like a peak when it came out, So I was looking at a lot of the analytics because I did all the uploading for DistroKid and Spotify and all that. But it's gone everywhere. To be fair, we've been in Greece and America.
30 countries.
It's about 30 different countries it's gone to.
And we've got like a couple listens in like Saudi Arabia and stuff.
We got like some random
yeah.
places, like we just got lots of little random places. But for a little band out of Plymouth, like it had some decent reach. I think it's definitely helped us with gigs and stuff for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, within 2 days, less than 2 days, there was a whole EP that had 600 streams, and within a week it had 1,200.
Yeah.
I mean, not a single song's got over 1,000 yet, but I think we're close. We've got to be close to some of them now, and it's, for me, like, that's just absolutely gobsmacking. I mean, it doesn't mean much to people, but you just, when you look at that, you just think, why the fuck are people listening to it? Like you just think, why are people listening?
We're
to
definitely a
that?
metal band that's suited fun, but
Why do people care? Like, but
we're kind of, I suppose we're kind of niche in the metal market to a degree, but to have like responses from different areas across literally the whole globe.
Well, especially that there's about 6 different other artists on Spotify called Lacerta. Something like that.
One's a metal band as well.
One is a metal band, but they've been defunct since like 2019 or something.
The big thing for me, though, being like primary gig booker and everything that I've noticed, is I found it incredibly difficult when we had a few rehearsal videos that were what I would say good quality. I mean, you know that we could put on a show, but it's hard because people are just going to get your email and they're going to look at it and go, you ain't got any links to anything. You've got like a kind of a crappy video or whatever. And they don't really take any of it seriously. But now that we've actually got a product to show them to go, actually,
we got products.
It's 6 tracks that are very
live
different.
videos and stuff. Yeah.
There you go. And I mean, I don't know whether it's because we've just got bigger, we've got better videos. I mean, we spam post like mad. I mean, I'm incessant on it, but it has helped us massively. I mean, you get random people like we've never even met, like Alex from Grovewood, and like what a nice guy.
We
just sending random messages going like the riff to that song's amazing.
Well, we got our gigs in Wales off of somebody who knew somebody in Plymouth watching like our Instagram
watching an Instagram video of us.
Yeah, invited us to come play in Wales.
It is strange how these things come about. It's it definitely opened my eyes because this is probably the furthest. I've been in several bands over the years. Most of them have been sort of like pop punk or some kind of like hard rock kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I've always been either the bassist or drummer or something like that. But it's just strange to see how quickly things can sort of escalate.
Yeah.
In the scene,
we've had really solid progression for a band that's been in its current outfit for a year.
Oh yeah.
And I don't want to say that it's not down to the work that we put in and stuff, but I think a big part of it as well is like what you said earlier, Chris, about for whatever reason now post COVID, particularly 2022, like late 22, 2023, there seems to be like this boom in just support and just generally like really lovely people just all falling into bands at the same time.
Yeah.
And like it's like literally I think almost every local gig lineup in my head I'm looking at it and going, that's a mates fest. Because it's like everyone supports each other. Like we're all going to other gigs that don't have us on a lineup, and like we'll play on Friday. There'll be people from other bands there, and it just you don't expect people to do that.
There is a brotherhood forming,
it's
brotherhood, sisterhood. Just the whole scene has a better feeling to it. So I remember being in bands 10 years ago. I did gig quite a lot, but not as much in Plymouth because it just wasn't.
Plymouth is a dead end. Like it was very hard to actually get
bands.
decent
You had some great bands back then. You had bands like Iconoclast and the Thora and and stuff. And
I remember Thora.
Yeah, Violent Virtue back then and stuff. So you had these cool bands and stuff, but there was nowhere near the level of camaraderie that there is now these days.
I think our next step really is sort of get a little bit further out of the southwest.
We are getting offered gigs. I mean, and we are getting offered gigs outside of Plymouth a lot. And the only thing for us now is it's the travelling there all the time and stuff. And that's the one thing that we're having to wrangle with at the minute. But that isn't even a problem. Like there was a period where we were finding it easy to get gigs out of Plymouth rather than in Plymouth. But Plymouth is not known, like you say, it's not known as a musical city. You go to Bristol and it's obviously a musical city. Like, it's but we found it we've got one gig there now, but we found it incredibly hard to get into Bristol, that market because there's just so much up there.
With Plymouth in particular, as soon as the hub disappeared down by the Pavilions, there goes your 500 capacity venue.
We lost the
Rabbit, of course.
We lost the kind of bedrocks for metal music in Plymouth.
And as much as the Junction's managed to prop itself up really well.
It's an amazing venue, it's just not big.
It's not big enough because the problem was, I remember hearing about this before when there were all these meetings going on when all the music venues were starting to shut down, and it was a bit of a thing where the community was going to try and come together to kind of rebuild it in a way. And they were saying there's nothing in between the small like 100 capacity venues, and then the gigantic 5,000 people pavilions. Or or the St. Argyle Arena.
You've got the depot now, but it's not put on bands like they have.
They do.
It's not that it's a nightclub venue, but it's like 800, 900 cap.
Yeah,
that is a space where bands start to play. But at the minute, it is.
They're a venue that they're only really going to do if they're not going to get the numbers.
Yeah.
So, but that's the thing. If they can start enticing down mid-sized touring acts, then it will start to generate.
I looked at it as hopefully being a replacement for the Hub, because that essentially was a nightclub that just put on excellent metal gigs. I mean, you had Mushroomhead playing there. I went to that show a few years ago. I went to Head P there.
Mate, Paddle Mud.
Yeah, and it's like you think all these
Mars,
they
were
great. Oh my god, you want that back. But...
Yeah. So it's been really interesting seeing the scene kind of develop. It's kind of developing around us.
Yeah.
It's been
the right time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, definitely. Like, as you guys were saying, the caliber of music coming up around us is incredible.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
And the diversity as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was like different genres and stuff. Like there's no two bands in the scene the same.
We had this discussion about trying to book for Friday, didn't we? Because we were trying to get some more support acts and stuff, and we were thinking about it. And we've had this discussion at a few other bands' gigs, but it's something you would typically see before we have the same sort of genres on lineups. But really, I can think of two bands in Plymouth that are thrash metal, which you've got Mechanized and Death Assault, which are like hand in hand, go really well together. But there's not really. I mean, we've got friends in Reduced to Ruins, which are the closest.
That's the closest by far. Yeah.
But you don't have lineups anymore where you've got three bands where you're like, oh, that's all that. You're just seeing all these multi-genre lineups. But we all like different types of music. And I mean, we would happily play with like an alt rock band and stuff. It's just knowing that the crowd's going to be there for all the acts.
Yeah.
But you don't see the same bands on lineups anymore, do you?
Not so much.
You don't see a genre like specific act.
Except with the slam stuff.
Except with like slam and death metal.
Yeah. Same back in the day, you had all these different kind of bands, but grindcore. They said like a couple of grindcore bands that always play together. That's what they're saying back then.
Yeah. No, fair enough. It's been a very interesting journey.
Yeah, awesome, very exciting. Best of luck with the EP. It deserves to do well because it's really, really good stuff, guys. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Cool. So before we get to our fun, spectacular outro thing that we do, people at home probably thought I wasn't going to mention it this time, but sorry, I'll always talk about Bloodstock. You guys are playing the Devon and Cornwall final for Bristol's Metal to the Masses to potentially play a slot at this year's Bloodstock Festival. By sheer happenstance, I interviewed War Shepherd on this channel not too long ago. They too are playing that final. Maybe I'll go for the bingo and get all the bands on here. But anyway, how are you guys feeling about the impending final?
Heats for supporting War Shepherd.
Yeah, we've been trying to go to all the hits. War Shepherd would have played more than any other band.
Yeah.
Just because they had the playoffs as well as all that stuff. So
they judges wild card and they won. I think
we were very pleasantly surprised to win, considering that when we attempted it last year, me, Charlie, and Fiona in our old iteration, 3 people and a laptop on a stage just didn't cut it. And it really hit the confidence very, very hard. And so that was the kickoff for this whole current iteration.
I think we just went to have fun and realised that the amount of work we put in is showed dividends.
Yeah, it pays off. And so I think we're really confident, but there's some good acts in the final.
It's going to be a tough one.
It is going to be a tough one.
The final is anyone's game really, but for the whole journey of it, I mean, John's played. Have you played it like 10 years ago?
I played it 11 years ago.
Yeah,
and my last one, my last metal band.
And Callum, our drummer, bless him, and me, we were in the same band together back along, and our band actually was in the same heat as the old Lacerta last year. So there was 2 bands. I think it was Death Assault and Ashen, wasn't it? They came first, second. So we never knew between me and Callum's old band and Lacerta's old iteration what happened. But the fact that me and Callum had joined these guys, and together, out of 4 of us that have played last year, we've come in at Heat 3, got not only the judges' vote, but the audience vote. The only judge-voted band in the final. We've been told now that we're the last playing band on the final.
We're ending the competition.
Yeah, we are actually ending the night. And
we're ending the competition.
A hell of a lot of pressure, but it's just really important. Like, I think, just to have fun, because it's kind of revolved around all of our journeys for the band, really.
But it's also become, again, another anchor point for the scene to move around, because it's all these bands that we're playing are all people that we are becoming our friends. And we've met a couple of new bands through them, like the band we're playing with on Friday, Recreants.
Again, the Apathy lads as well.
Well, yeah, of course. Apathy. Ash should have been playing almost every year for like 5-6 years.
Jared Fear's band, which was
Yeah.
renamed Reduced to Ruins. I mean,
And Bullshit
we
Vocals.
met them through our gig in February, but we mainly met them at Livewire, and they talk to me like daily now. I mean, me and Charlie went down in festival.
I think
it's just like in the space of 3 months, you're just like really close mates with people you just didn't even
I
know.
think the funniest thing for me
Absolutely.
was the War Shepherd guys. I've known Nate, the bass player, for years. We used to play in bands 10, 11 years ago, and I think she played in a couple of bands afterwards, and I played in a couple of things, and then just like this years later, we're just back in the same circle. It's just arguably more passion we had than when we were kids, essentially. Because I was like 18, 19.
Yeah.
Arguably, we have more passion now, being in our 30s, than we did back then. It's awesome. It's just really there is such a vibe.
It's going to be a hell of a.
Whoever wins that
It's going to
deserves
deserve
it.
it.
And it'll be great to see Mechanized play because they won last year and they were bloody awesome and they're great guys.
They're
But it'll be
great
great
guys.
to watch them. So
yeah.
yeah, we're really excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great show, regardless of who wins. And anybody, we want ourselves to win, of course we do, but whoever wins, they deserve it.
Yeah,
So
I think for us now, it's almost not even about the winning. It's just being there and sort of being part of something so awesome. Really,
Yeah,
it's
just being around
It's a
those
really cool
fans.
thing, being able to share a stage with some of like the Southwest,
So
Best
massive.
stuff was
some of
kicking
the best
around,
bands
yeah.
in the Southwest, and it's like just being able to say to ourselves that we are in that caliber with those guys is just such a cool thing to be able to say.
Doing this is a cool thing. Like this is something I've never done before.
Well, yeah, me neither.
Yeah, also, yeah, I love Melt to the Masses so much. Even like playing in it or going to see it, and as you say, you see the same people there all the time. We almost met people just through doing it, and I've never met a band who's been in it and gone, we're here because we really want to win. Is every band's like, we're here because we love it. It's so much fun. Actually, that's not true. I have met one band who was like that, but I'm not naming names. Yeah, it's a really, really fun event, and I love it. That's why I always want to talk about it. But cool. Best of luck in the final, guys. I'm sure you'll smash it. And yeah, it looks like an awesome lineup in its own right, basically. So have fun with that because it looks like it's going to be amazing.
I think it's going to be an amazing evening either way.
Yeah.
Oh, fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. So we're nearly done. But of course, before we get to our fun, spectacular outro, everyone watching, check out the links in the description below to check out Lacerta's socials, their music, their new EP, From the Gutter. Check it out. It's really, really fucking good. So before we close, we like to end these interviews the same way every single time, where I throw some random quick-fire questions at you. You can think as long or as short as you want. You do not have to come to a consensus, so fight it out if you wish. We always start with this question because I'm filming a tally. Do you like Ghost?
Yes.
Yes.
Not listen to them.
I,
Seen them once.
The biggest of them.
I saw them at Download this year, and they blew my mind. They were really good live.
I saw them years ago and they were hilarious.
I wouldn't put them on, but I'll give you that. I caught a bit of their set. Spectacular live band. Can't complain about that.
I listen to them regularly. I think they're great.
They lied about being black metal. They really should have been black metal. That's my input.
Fair enough. I feel like I'm just defending them really because the amount of grief they get online. But I love Ghost. They're great. Team Ghost is winning by a landslide, so it's always good. Cool. Horror movie or action movie?
Horror.
Action.
Horror.
I'm in a horror-based band and I can't stand horror movies. Who'd have guessed?
Right, consensus. Kick Liam up.
Yeah.
I love me a good horror, man.
Horror. Sci-fi horror for me personally.
Personally, I'm not a big fan of like gore horror, but it's got to be like a cycle. It's got to like fuck in my head a little bit,
That's why I've been reading so much Berserk again recently. Get some of that fantasy, dark fantasy, grim action
Still
stuff.
need to read that.
You really do.
Yeah.
You would love it. There'll be a whole song about the eclipse. I'm telling you.
Isn't the band Brand of Sacrifice
Literally based on
that's-
Berserk.
Yeah,
They have the album called God
one of my
Hand.
favorite bands. Yeah.
There you go.
Awesome. Next question: traditional metal or modern metal?
I'm gonna go modern because
Modern.
that's just like I
It's
just
so hard for me.
I prefer the vocals in modern metal, but like traditional, you can't
I
throw away
I
your
will-
roots,
I will go traditional because it's those other roots of what I grew up with from my uncle and like family friends, and like I'm a massive prog rock fan as well. So like your bands like early Genesis and like
King Crimson.
and
Banging band.
Yes.
and the
Yeah.
It's like
Anderson, Lake and Palmer and stuff. So I think I do like traditional stuff, and I grew up like on Dio and Ozzy and Rainbow and all that.
See, that's the
I
thing,
love that
Charles.
stuff, man.
Charles here is a massive Aussie fan.
Well,
That's
there you go.
Yeah,
Look.
the massive
It's
Aussie-
The
the,
Aussie tattoo.
the thing that's the
No, I'm not-
dichotomy there.
I'm a traditional guy. I use traditional gear for years, so I'll go
I
traditional.
mean, I recently found out that the band Toto is surprisingly heavy.
Mate, I love it. I
Like,
love
if you listen to anything other than Africa, you'll be like, oh,
Or
no.
What's this?
Yeah.
Steve, you can say guitarist?
I have no
Yeah,
idea, mate.
He's a stunning guitar player.
Well, hold the line, banging song.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. After seeing King Diamond at Sonosford literally 12 years ago now, that was a real eye-opening experience in terms of that old style thrash that's inspired all of those other bands. It was really interesting to see, and they still got it. They can still kick
Yeah,
ass.
still amazing. Merciful Fate of Bloodstock a few years ago, fucking incredible.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Next one. Breakdowns or sing-alongs.
Oh, breakdowns.
It's
Breakdowns.
depends on the sing along. It depends on
See,
the sing along.
I'm a fucker for a Disney sing along. Like that's my jam. I could recite the lyrics to any Disney
Did
song
you
on
put a
it.
Disney song, but you did a sort of deathcore version of it in the Bridge of Yellow Brick Road for a joke for a while?
Oh no! In Yellow Brick Road.
Oh yeah, it's
I started pig squealing. You know, we represent the Lollipop Guild.
yeah.
Just for a laugh. No, but I love me a good breakdown. Like, engaging that stank face.
I think we all collectively love a good breakdown, but there is something very special about hearing your own words sang back at you.
That's how
It's and just something about that connection. It's a different kind of connection. It's the difference between something with it's emotional over visceral.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. It's like when we saw Emerald Dies the other day. They're just nothing but brutal. And it's amazing to watch.
Should we have a vote of hands? I mean, it could go 50-50, but like, yeah,
Sing
hands
along
up for sing along.
I'll go sing along.
I think that's pretty.
Fine.
I think that's pretty clear.
Fine.
Yeah.
That's the consensus.
John's got the band as well. Come on, John. We'll
No
start
classic metal, no sing along.
Great, awesome.
Quick one, isn't there?
Yeah.
Old, isn't it?
Callum's not here. At least he's
He's a fucking old man, apparently.
Yeah.
He's only the drummer. We don't really listen to him.
Poor Callum.
He'll get well soon.
This is why I do these questions. It's like therapy for a lot of bands. It's just getting it. Great. Next one. TV or movie?
Movie,
Maybe.
hands down.
See, I love a good series.
So do I, but
I love a
movie
good
all the
series,
way.
but movie all the way, bro.
There's a lot better movies than there are series, personally.
Yeah. I mean, I disagree.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm just
You're
going to
entitled
go.
to your opinion.
I'll go with the
Two
group
down.
and say movie. Why not?
Right, so Charlie's out of the band.
No,
Good luck.
It's me and Callum left.
Charlie, no, your opinion's too bad. It's fucking stupid.
Awesome.
Thing is, I've got the attention span of a used tea bag, so like I can't generally. What?
Doesn't make any sense.
Exactly, but
Oh, it's brutal.
so I can't generally sit down and watch like a series from start to finish. I have to watch like half an hour of it, then go and do something. So yeah, I'll go movie then. Why not?
Yeah,
Great. Best live show you've ever seen?
Oh god, that's hard.
Ramstein 3 years ago, or Linkin Park at Download 2014 playing hybrid 3 front to back.
I've got a fucking hell of a story to tell you.
Okay.
Okay, give it a minute.
I'm trying to think. I've got so many good gigs.
I think for me it was Warp Tour 2010, so it was Killswitch Engage and In Flames.
Bloodstock this year on the Friday.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Both after each other.
I think it was Every Time I Die as well, actually. Who I didn't know them at the time, but they were epic. So I think that one.
I'll go for I forget what year it was. It was either 2019 or 2017, but Aerosmith when they did a 3-hour set in Download.
That was 2019.
I was insane.
Yeah.
I was insane. All on point. He's still got it. Steven Tyler can still fucking hit those notes.
Nice.
Of course he can. He's a legend. When I was about 16, I got taken up to London to the O2 to see the Rolling Stones on their 50th anniversary show, and I got a backstage tour, and they had the stage set out like the tongue and lips thing. But in the tongue, they had like a pit for like photographers and press and like celebrities. Somehow we swindled our way into that pit. So it was kind of crazy. Stood that close, like right at the front of the stage at the O2. Oh, we stood on the stage during sound check and watched some sound check. And
Wow.
they had Eric Clapton perform with them. They had Florence and the Machine perform "Give Me Shelter" with him. And it was just a ludicrously strange experience for a 16, 17-year-old.
I would actually change my answer, which is completely off topic, which is a different kind of music. But I saw Jeff Beck in 2010, and I met him after the show, and he's gone now, and it was amazing. That was a master player of guitar playing.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the bass player they had, but she was an absolute legend as well.
I love that story.
I'll go to Jeff for that, because that was phenomenal. Like, just musicianship on top level.
I love that story that Alex Cooper tells about Jeff Beck and how he would warm up his guitar playing before a show. He was just there shredding away, and they went up and tapped to him, and he grabbed his guitar and went like this. And he just grabbed the guitar at the base of the neck and just started shredding as the guitar would fall through his hands. And he started cutting through modes and scales, just complete legato as the guitar is falling out of his hand.
Colston Hall, Jeff Beck, because it was just flawless guitar.
Right, we got some work to do.
Let's
do it.
Yeah, great. Next one. What are you currently listening to?
Ooh, that's a
I am currently listening to De-Evolution by Incense, which are a band that I believe are produced by vocalist from In Flames, I forget his name.
Anders Frieden.
Anders Frieden, he looks at them. I've been listening to this album for ages, but as we've been progressing to write new music, I've been looking at the albums that really kind of influence my kind of songwriting process and what I want to do, particularly lyrically, as I'm trying to do more stuff with Charlie going forward. Yeah, De-Evolution by Incense, an amazing band.
everyone else.
For me, it's The Root of Man by Anti-Clone. I can't get enough of that at the moment. That or a lot of Knorkator, which is a absurdly stupid German band, which is kind of based more on piano and high singing, but I've got influence over it. But that's the two things I'm just really into at the minute.
For me, obviously, I generally go back to stuff I'm comfortable with. So a lot of Lorna Shore, a lot of Infant Annihilator. But I've been kind of listening to a lot of Bloodywood.
Oh yeah,
great. After their set of downloads,
That's like gave you a
boom. Funny enough as well, this year's Eurovision Song Contest had a lot of really cool acts, and there was this one guy who came second place. He's wearing this weird green thing across there. I love the
Finnish one, wasn't
it? Finnish, yeah, it's called Kaja or something. I can't pronounce the name of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's who I've been. Yeah, that's a good mention. Cannot pronounce the name.
That bloke who didn't win Eurovision.
Yeah, the
bloke
who didn't win Eurovision.
Like the stadium booed when he lost.
Yeah, also the judges.
Actually saying that, Electric Callboy at Download.
Oh,
that's one that was. I mean, I knew of them thanks to you, but Jesus Christ, has my life been transformed after being in that tent?
I'm pretty sure. I didn't know.
You
I'm pretty sure I didn't know of them before I met you. I don't think.
Yeah, if Germany doesn't pick him for Eurovision next year, they're doing something wrong.
Yeah,
that would be pretty mental. To be fair,
yeah,
just that on the Eurovision stage, that would be crazy.
And I think actually I've been listening to
Hippocratic still.
No, from the gutter.
Lacerta from the gutter repeat. No, there's
Matt.
I've been chatting a lot of Nova Twins recently as well. Nova Twins have kind of taken my attention a bit recently.
Elton John likes that.
I think I've been flipping between Sleep Token because their new album is just pretty damn good overall, and Gunship. If you know them, like a spin-off of the Fight Style guys, so it's like pure 80s wave stuff.
The same guy is it Busted?
Yeah.
Well, Charlie from Busted was in Fight Style. Yeah. It's the other guitar player from Fight Style. Yeah. But they have a track where they get John Carpenter, the guy who directed The Thing and all that, to do a little monologue at the beginning of one of their tracks, and then Charlie from Busted's on one as well. And again, all Berserk inspired in the second album. But it's great stuff. That and they actually did a song with Dave Lombardo.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The DC Nights. It's one of the comic panels. They've actually produced an album where they've got loads of these artists on it.
Chino did a Chino.
Marino
did a solo song on that.
Yeah, and it's Tyler Bates, Gunship, and Dave Lombardo doing this one track.
Wow.
It's actually amazing.
I'll give that a go.
I think that's a very long-winded answer, but there you go.
Yeah, fair enough. Lots of stuff to go check out. And final question: favorite Lacerta song?
That noise.
The teeth drying.
From the EP or all over.
Whatever you want, whatever your favorite is.
Fuck.
Harder.
I think for me personally, Mutual Violence, just because it's so much fun to play. It's got the level of aggression that I really enjoy, but then mixed with all the grooves, it just makes it lots of fun. God, the thinking faces.
Deviant.
Deviant. Oh, okay, yeah.
One of them.
Yeah, that will appear on the next EP
Deviant's one of my
actually.
favourite,
So
yeah.
if anyone is for whatever reason watches in the future, Deviant.
I think
Yeah,
it's a good idea there, but I think because I just Deviant, I wrote the majority of it, and then
You did,
me
yeah.
and Matt just kind of just folded it together and he just made it work.
To be fair,
Did not know that.
it's a hell of a song. Yeah, that was what Black. It was called.
Black Truck Down.
Black Truck Down is
That was the working title of that song. Yeah. For me, it's probably it's a toss up between Mutual Violence and Smother. And they for different reasons. I think Smother because it's the majority came from myself. So I'm
I
like,
think it's very
You got an attachment there, yeah.
think about what I came up with originally, and I'm like, actually, that's a lot of my influence. But then Mutual Violence because it's just riff salad. Like I love songs like that, and in Mutual Violence is for me it solidifies like some confidence with me because I'm not really a confident guitar player, but the fact I can actually pull that song off live, and you see the reception when I'm playing it live, that when me and you are on it together, people just genuinely can't get enough of it, and it just that fills me with a bit more confidence. I think.
I don't know.
That's a good song, man.
Quick, list them off. Yeah.
Oh,
You weren't
shit.
meant to tell people about that song.
I'll never forget.
Personally, like from just the fun of it, I really, really enjoyed playing the new song, "The Flesh," just because of like
it is great.
the breakdown. Like when we played that song for the first time recently, and we faffed it up big time. But I've got a video on my phone of someone took a recording and sent it to me, and it was
Matey at the front spin kicking was.
it was just there's a random, it's a very strange break halfway through the breakdown at the end, and you could just hear someone in the crowd going, "Well, that's a bit fucking heavy, isn't it?" It was just the strangest
You
thing.
know what? I was watching the video back actually, and I noticed it because it was a bit of an accident, really. Like originally, the song has a breakdown at the end. It's a typical deathcore breakdown, and there's a thing between Charlie doing this vocal thing where he starts on a lower octave, goes up, and I do a pitch shift note following him. So like the vocal and guitar blends, and that was your idea. And then it was a stop, and then I was like, "Oh, you know how everyone does a breakdown at the big stop, come back slower? Let's try it."
Yeah.
We tried it live.
Fully
We kind of like it went off a bit. Callum
Balls
did
it
like
up.
4 extra like cymbal hits, and it just stopped. Matey said that, and I had someone go, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" And then Callum just goes, "Shh." And then we come back in, and this bloke afterwards is just screaming afterwards. When we had finished, like they were all a bit like, "Oh," and then we played the slower bit, and then everyone afterwards, it was like a completely different change. It's like we just played the same riff back to you, but
Same riff, just like
same riff is slower.
Yeah.
But it's that meme. It's that meme. When the riff comes back slower, it's always the stank faces.
I love the original EP and all the songs you did, but honestly, I think the new stuff I do prefer playing a lot more. But I think maybe because I've had more input.
That's how it goes.
Vocally
Yeah.
bass playing wise, I suppose.
It's fresh.
More
I've been playing those old songs a solid year now.
We had to write all the original sets so quickly. That was the bulk of the EP within 6 weeks. For whatever reason, we decided it'd be a great idea to take a gig on August 5th. After like
Beginning of June.
they got offered the gig 2 weeks after we had reformed, and then it was 4 weeks later. Okay, we got to have a set now.
Yeah,
and it was just like raw and visceral and like that riff, cool, go.
pretty much. But yeah,
Yeah,
there you
we're
go.
given time to change the songs up where we whereas with this new set, where it's had a lot more time to bed in, which is what you're saying, and stuff where we're planning, doing a lot more future planning. We're trying to because with this year when we did the EP, we kind of got ourselves into a rut and we booked an EP release show. And then we had to scramble to get everything recorded to that point. Whereas with this, we're kind of like, no, we're gonna like slow down a bit. But Callum, I mean, literally just randomly, we've been sat doing different things, and all of a sudden in the group chat, you'll get an entire drum track, and 3 of the new songs he's just sent drums in within 3 days. It's like, oh, okay, best we start record then. Like, okay,
pretty much. So we've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, can't wait to hear what new stuff you guys have got coming in the pipeline, hopefully in the not too distant future. But that's all I've got. That's all I've got for today. So thanks again, guys, so much for joining me today. And again, to people watching, check the link in the description below and support Lacerta. Thanks again, guys. This was great.
Lovely. Thank you for having us.
Cool. No worries. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.